You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. Their utter humiliation. Words that undoubtedly many people will be pleased to see. But what does it actually mean? Well, according to an article by Daniela Elsa, no friend of the Sussexes, in news.com.au, we're told Harry's wife and Prince Harry's utter humiliation. First of all, how does humiliation affect a narcissist? Well, feeling humiliated, of course, is a threat to control. So doing something which humiliates a narcissist will either wound or, more usually, provide challenge fuel to the narcissist. Humiliating a narcissist, for example, in making it seem like lots of people are going to turn up to an event that has been organised by the narcissist and nobody turns up. That would cause massive wounding, because all of the non-intimate secondary sources that would be expected to attend, let's say 30, 40 people, who all decide, for whatever reason, to not turn up, maybe because they become sick and tired of that particular narcissist's behaviour towards them and others, and therefore they seek to humiliate them simply by not turning up to an event that they've planned, spent money on, talked a lot about, then the failure to attend that causes massive wounding to that narcissist. 30 non-intimate secondary sources were expected to be there with all of the attendant fuel that comes with it, and they're not. The narcissist is both humiliated and wounded. In an instance, perhaps, where the narcissist is given a dressing down in front of a number of people, which affects their facade. So, for instance, somebody calls them out with regard to their lies, they're giving them fuel, so that's not an issue. So not as problematic as the previous example that I've given you. However, affecting their status, damaging their facade with such allegations and utterances which are accepted by the crowd causes a problem for the narcissist. It's a threat to control, and the narcissist may well fight back, but more usually, particularly where mid-range, they'll retreat from such a situation, asserting control by withdrawal, seeking out somebody else to offer them sympathy as a consequence of what they regard as the unfair humiliation at the words of somebody else. But what is this utter humiliation that is being referred to with regard to Harry's wife? The subheading is Harry's wife and Prince Harry have become something they never imagined, and it's having huge ramifications on their future. The article states, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, doesn't strike me as the sort who spends a lot of his time reading Oscar Wilde, but maybe now is the time to start. There is a certain kindred spirit thing going on for starters, the legendary author being a man who had no compunction about provoking the upper crust and refused to cow in the face of prejudice. And for another thing, one of Wilde's most famous witticisms, that there is only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about, might be something for Harry to find solace in after news of the royals' latest TV outing broke on Wednesday. Not that the Duke and wife, Harry's wife, Duchess of Sussex, mind you are, have signed on for I'm a Celebrity or will host the MTV Awards or will be joining Simon Cowell to listen to caterwauling wannabes, but that an upcoming episode of South Park would seem to be wet to truly taking the mick out of them. In a teaser for an upcoming episode entitled A Dumb Prince and His Stupid Wife of the long-running show, Cal says, "It is seriously driving me crazy. I'm sick of hearing about them, but I can't get away from them. They're everywhere in my fucking face." Stan responds with, "Look, Kyle, we just don't care about some dumb prince and his stupid wife." I, of course, have provided you with my observations as to how that will impact upon Harry's wife in an earlier video today. But here it's being picked up on, as it has been by numerous news outlets, with further commentary from Daniela Elsa. She continues, "Mark your diaries, note down the date, jot this in the history books. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have literally become a laughing stock." That pronouncement there from Daniela Elsa, that they are a laughing stock, is the stuff that is that nightmares are made of for Harry's wife. Not being taken seriously. As I've explained in immediate parts past him, she has no sense of humour. She believes that she has, but she has not. We've seen that borne out. But she takes herself seriously. She believes herself to be important. And the fact that she is regarded as a laughingstock is hugely problematic. The article continues, it's not even the first instance of late that they have been the butt of very high-profile jokes. Last week, during the Grammys, host Trevor Noah said that James Corden, arsehole, was living proof that a man can move from London to LA and not tell everyone about his frostbitten penis. Prior to that, Chelsea Handler deadpanned during the Critics' Choice Awards. Dharma became the third highest viewed show on Netflix, with a combined watch time of 1 billion hours, which apparently is the same amount of time we're going to have to listen to Prince Harry talk about his frostbitten penis. It's enough already. When Harry released his guided missile of a tell-all spare in January, the Jimmy Kimmel Show first did a sketch mocking the altercation between the Duke and brother Prince William, with two actors dressed up as the singer Prince. In another episode, Kimmel told the audience that publishers were releasing a children's book version of his memoir called The Prince and the Penis, and then read from it. At the chilly North Pole, a silly young codger took a walk in the snow and froze his wee todger, it started. This would all be a bit of a giggle. The foibles, scandals, and extramarital shenanigans of the royal family having long been juicy fodder for comedians and sketch writers. If it wasn't for the fact that the Sussexes are starting to look less like power players, and much more like a punch line. For one thing, the US does not seem to like them all that much. Polling done after the release of Spare and Harry's myriad TV appearances found that more Americans have an unfavourable view of the two of them than favourable, and nearly half thought they should lose their titles. Ouch. What is so surprising is that while they might be the most famous couple in the world, not on TikTok or occupying the White House, that fame has not translated into effortless professional success, untold riches, and swanning about with society darlings. Now, the simple reason for that is that he's dim, she's empty, and people simply don't actually like them. Harry once was likeable, but he's lost that as he's been subsumed within the awful shared fantasy that is the folie à deux that he's been entered into with his wife. People recognise, speak to them, your words will be used, they'll be monetized. You can't say anything confidential in front of them. You can't be yourself in front of them because it's likely to end up in some fucking podcast or television program. And therefore, it hasn't translated into effortless professional success because they don't have anything to offer. Harry, he could run around in the desert. He could run around in Afghanistan. He could be protected in a bunker. He could turn up and shake hands and be nice and look after animals and all of that jazz. And he could have carried on doing that and found a decent sort to marry and been content. Unfortunately, he has been drawn in by somebody that he thought would make him content, but is simply using him. With her narcissism causes her to believe that she's brilliant, and she's not. A mediocre actress, can't sing, can't dance, would make an awful politician, believes she's a philanthropist, but the fact of what she is flies completely in the face of that. An individual who has nothing meaningful to say, that acquires character traits from others, plagiarizes from other people's work, can't write anything of note or interest, doesn't understand the English language at times, guttural, visceral, anybody. And accordingly, that's why, as a consequence of him being thick and her being empty, they've nothing to offer, and it hasn't translated into the success that she believes that they're entitled to. The article continues, we are a long way from the days of July 2019 when Harry was invited to address a who's who of CEOs, billionaires and those who buy private planes in bulk at Google Camp. They're the sort of people who have Warren Buffett's private fax number, or who can at least get one Obama on the phone. Faster than they could willfully tank the Nasdaq, listen to Harry, reportedly barefoot, to talk about climate change. These are far from the calibre of shoulders that he and Harry's wife are rubbing these days. Last week, it was revealed that they were guests at the vow renewal of scandal hit talk show host Ellen DeGeneres and wife Portia de Rossi, a ceremony presided over by none other than Kris Jenner, a woman whose astronomical wealth is built on her eagerness to hawk her family to the highest bidder. Also on the guest list, Katy Perry, Orlando Bloom, Gwyneth Paltrow, Carol Burnett, Melissa Etheridge, and Brandi Carlile. Davos, this was not. Aside from Harry popping up at the United Nations General Assembly last July, during which he addressed a remarkable number of empty seats, the invitations to these sort of distinguished and high-profile events would seem to have dried up. Nor has the couple ever been visibly welcomed into the orbit of any of America's political or cultural heavy hitters, such as Barack and Michelle. Also strangely absent from their lives, now they are no longer on the Buckingham Palace mailing list, are George and Amal Clooney. When the Clooney's eponymous foundation was launched in New York last year with a soiree that was wall-to-wall A-listers, the Sussexes, for whatever reason, were not there. In Harry and Harry's Wife, their never-ending Netflix doco, Harry's wife is seen receiving a text message of support from Beyoncé. Why, I wonder, are stars such as her not willing to align themselves with the Duke and Duchess publicly? The reason is, of course, they see her as tainted. One way to look at this is to wonder if, as a consequence of their take-no-prisoners PR warfare of their Oprah interview Netflix series and Spare, they have simply become too divisive and too polarising for celebs like the Lemonade singer, who meticulously cultivate and husband their brands. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex's woes extend to the robustness of their careers. Sure, Harry is fresh off making history, having authored, or at least co-authored, with ghostwriter J.A. Moehringer, the fastest-selling non-fiction book ever, proof that a B in art and a D in geography in his final exams, and never having worked for anyone aside from his grandmother, is no barrier to literary success. I would suggest that claiming that he's had literary success there is being awfully generous. However, while the Duke might currently be riding high, the question is what comes next for him and Harry's wife. They both signed a deal with Spotify in late 2020, but more than 2 years on, he is yet to produce anything but a one-off episode. There has never been a skerrick of a suggestion that he might be quietly working on a podcast of his own. Then there's Harry's Wife's Archetypes series, which made a big splash only for subsequent episodes to quietly slide down the platform's most popular list week after week, like Princess Margaret when she cracked open a second bottle of famous grouse. Again, there has not been a peep that Spotify are eager for second series or any new offering. And what of the Sussexes' most significant deal? Netflix. Their six-parter of hurt feelings, iPhone photos, and milking every last drop of TV out of their journey was a clear ratings success for the streamer. Here comes the but. But the only other show that is confirmed they have in the work is the documentary about the Invictus Games, the sporting event for wounded and serving veterans, that Harry launched back when he was still a dutiful HRH. No other shows or docos or chances for Harry to put on his barely used producer cap have been announced. Are the couple, right this second, busy beavering away on a host of exciting new projects for their various new corporate paymasters? They may well be, powered by the righteous zeal of having entirely bought into their self-mythologizing and the urgency that comes with a whopping bodyguard bill to pay. If this is the case, though, it is being very tightly kept under wraps indeed. Meanwhile, their philanthropic endeavours would seem to have hit a bit of a snag. Recently, the Archwell Foundation released their first impact report, which detailed the organisation's global outreach, and far more impressive work than had been known. Someone get out the gold stars. However, those dogged reporter types over at the Daily Mail recently then reported that of the 18.6 million Australian dollars raised by the foundation, 14.3 million Australian dollars had come from one wealthy individual who would point to them having yet to attract a wide donor base. Here's another interesting detail. This week, California Senator Dianne Feinstein announced she would retire at the end of her term, the very seat that it has previously been reported that Harry's wife might want to make a tilt at someday. Yet, it's been years since there was any talk of the former actress having a crack at political office, and today the idea of the Duchess tootling off to Washington verges on the comical. So where the hell do Harry and Harry's wife go next? Because really, who today takes them that seriously? They have made themselves objects of permanent fascination, but simultaneously of mockery, thanks to their regular bouts of on-camera spleen venting and attacks on his family. Today, they seem to exist on the periphery of the big leagues, sharing mimosas with people who have probably spent more time having their teeth capped than pondering the state of capitalism. The Sussex is yet to be welcomed into the political, philanthropic or business elites. At least Harry and Harry's wife are connected to Kris Jenner, and who knows what exciting new opportunities they might come up with over a mimosa business lunch. The Bilderberg group might yet call the Duke and Duchess, but the official Harry lip kit to be confirmed. The fact is that they have made themselves objects of mockery as a consequence of Harry's wife's behaviour. The way that her narcissism functions, so that it doesn't actually look ahead and look at the big picture, the way that she believes that she's always right and she knows precisely what to do, has left them in this situation. He, dragged along by his pink pods, simply being a yes man to whatever she demands. And now it has left them in a position of humiliation, on the outside, and with seemingly little place to go. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.